Let's bring out this great cast who I love so much. And but we're going to start with the newest resident in Bon Tom, who plays James, Nathan Parsons. And then the beautiful Jessica Deborah Ann Wall. Lafayette himself, Nelson Ellis.
Thank you.
Miss Arlene, Carrie Preston. And his first time at Comic-Con, Chris Bauer, Andy Belfleur. And the now Buddhist Sarah Newland, Anna Camp. Executive producer Brian Buckner. Pam, Kristen Bauer von Straten. The dearly departed Tara Thornton, Rutina Wesley. Look at that jacket. That's such a... I love that jacket. Sam Merlot, Sam Trammell. Mr. Bill Compton, Stephen Moyer. And the lady without who without the show wouldn't exist, Sookie Stackhouse, Anna Paquin. Okay. This is crazy. Well, you guys, let's go back. Since this is, maybe one of the last times you'll all be together on stage. What do you all remember from shooting the pilot? Like, did you immediately think this is something special? Did you think, like, I can't believe this, I don't know if this is gonna go? What did you guys think? What are your memories of that pilot?
Wow.
Can anybody remember 7 years ago?
There was that little lot. I just remember that The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody was shooting right next door. And we had all these naked, bloody people walking around. That's my memory.
What about the rest of you guys? Do you have any memories? Anna, Steven? No?
I mean, yeah, but somebody else go first.
Okay.
I remember Merlot.
Yeah.
One of the only sets that was actually built at the time was his bar. And I remember walking around and looking at every single detail, every beautiful little kind of, there's loads of posters that you won't have seen of the Louisiana peach competition, peach eating competition, or the best peach in Louisiana, Peach Festival. And all of these little posters up that were brought in by Ron and Suzuki Ingerslev, and just thinking, wow, this is amazing. The world that they're setting up.
Yeah, they literally have like cards for carpenters and plumbers from Louisiana, like real people, like tacked on the back of the bar. It's really detailed. It's pretty amazing.
Rutina, do you have any memories? I love when Tara yells at that lady in the store. That's like my favorite. I love that.
I think that's one of my favorite scenes of the whole series. I remember from the pilot, from me just being terrified because it was my first job, almost my first job out of school, and I was like, oh my God, just please don't fire me. Please don't fire me. But I remember just having a lot of fun, learning a lot really quickly.
Yeah.
And all these guys, of course, were so welcoming, so it was a lot of fun.
And Nelson, Lafayette was supposed to die originally, and you I remember, I think Steven told me the story that I think you were like with Alan, you guys were like, we can't kill this guy off. Like, he's too good.
Well, I'm glad he kept me with a job. It's funny because what I remember most is I was like, do my shirts have to be this tight? Jesus, okay.
Do you guys have, like, over the course, I mean, over 7 years now, do you guys have favorites, sort of like, what the moments, like, sort of favorite? I mean, I always think about the meat tree. I love the meat tree. I think the meat tree is just, I like the idea of it. But, like, Steven, like, do you like the Lorena sex where you know,
I'm just going to go back to something, because you
yeah.
just made me think of it, Nelson. There was a moment in the pilot that we talked about before, Tim. There was a moment in the pilot where Nelson is cooking grits or something. Was it, Nelson? What were you cooking?
I think I was cooking burgers.
When you started humping the thing.
And he starts
and
basically
making fun of
doing
us.
this.
Oh, 6 gears. That was my 6 gears.
What was it?
That was my 6 gears.
Yeah.
it's your 6 years.
And at which point he turns around and says, everybody loved the pussy. John, even you scared of the pussy, right? and there was this guy, this extra that was there just for the day that was Big John, as he became known. And because of that moment when Nelson turned around and said, even Big John's scared of the pussy, even at that moment, Big John has been in every single one of our episodes ever since.
Yeah.
Because of him.
Oh.
Because of Nelson.
I like that. Brian, there's been a lot more flashbacks, I think, this season, especially with Bill and Pam and Eric. Is that a conscious decision to sort of show, I mean, do you guys want to sort of bring things full circle? Because it sort of started with, Bill and sort of the Civil War stuff.
Well, with Bill, we got a character who we turned into a vampire god, and he wasn't that nice when he was a vampire god. So honestly, the thinking there was, as Bill tries to find his way back to himself, let's give him a little help by flashing back to his human life. And that's kind of the case across the boards with a lot of the flashbacks. To give a little bit more context, how Pam and Eric came to Shreveport in the first place, just filling in holes that were out there and learning something else about these characters who we've already spent a lot of episodes with. So, yeah. I mean, for sure conscious. But we've always done flashbacks. There's just some purpose to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I love, my favorite flashback so far this year was the fact that Pam and Eric owned a video store franchise. Who came up with, like, where'd that come from? Was that your idea? I mean, how did that even come to be?
We wanted to do a flashback to how they came to Shreveport. There was, we're like, it needs to be the worst punishment imaginable, like the worst punishment imaginable. And it was one of our writers, Craig Chester, who actually said a video store. And yeah, so that's how we came to that.
And Kristen, those must have been so fun to shoot. I mean, like the 80s clothes. I mean, I know you love your costumes, as Pam, but those were like another level, I think. Was that a blast to shoot?
Yeah, the 80s was another level, and it was really fun to go back there and have even more hair. And it really is so brilliant that we end up in this fluorescently lit video store. And then also that the throne, which Alex and I had been imagining he was carrying around since his Viking days and treasuring that it was his father's.
Yeah.
It was found by Ginger in an alley. It was amazing to see Ginger, how we met her, and the transformation, and Alex kind of, the slow-mo walk where he was dressed basically as Jason Priestley when Ginger first sees him and gives up her college career. Alex sort of did the slow-mo walk. He didn't have to, but he kind of actually in person did it. It was an amazing day.
Yeah. And you were telling me earlier, you sort of there's a piece of Merlot, or not of Merlot, of Fantasia you specifically want to take. Can you explain what that piece you'd like to keep?
Well, it wasn't my last day in Fantasia. I think I was the only one who realized it. And then it was the end of a long day, and everybody was busy and trying to get out of there, and I was kind of trying to stay out of the way, but take a moment. Uh-oh, Stephen, it's happening. And he's counting. He's counting how many times today. And 96. And I really was too overwhelmed because I'm thinking, do I want to cherish that weird little Aunt Jemima skeleton tchotchke for the rest of my life? I don't know what I want. I took nothing. And then I realized that there's 3 paintings. So it's our executive producer, Greg Feinberg, as a vampire, Clinton as a vampire, and Bush as a vampire. And Clinton and Bush, I'm good with either, but after this last episode, Republican, I think it should be Bush.
I love that. I love that. I mean, speaking of last days, so you guys have wrapped, you're done. What were your individual last days like? I mean, it must have been just so surreal because it's been 7 years. It's been a huge journey. I mean, so many life changes. I mean, I'm assuming you all wrapped on different days. So what were those days like for you all?
I remember my last day was very, it was weird. I like did my last close up for the night, you know, and then it was just kind of like, it was over. And then I kind of walked to the side, and Adina just came running up to me, and she just like grabbed me, and we just hugged for a good like 5-10 minutes and just cried. It just kind of hit me all at once. I didn't think it would hit me like that, but it just kind of hit me, and it was beautiful and sad, and also like it's on to new things, you know. So
let me jump in real quickly and say that people have not seen the last of Rutina yet. When she talks about her last day, you haven't seen her last day yet. Because I know a lot of people are worried about that.
I would say in true blood fashion, my last day, I wrapped at 4 a.m. out in the woods somewhere. But I don't know, I thought that was kind of fitting, and it was nice because they actually did wrap a bunch of people all together earlier that night. So we had a moment where at least half the cast, if not more, were together and could kind of say goodbye. And
It was
I
17.
Just a couple hours
It was
later.
like 17 people.
Yeah,
last scenes.
17 people wrapped at once.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
The dressing, I thought it was appropriate
Yeah.
that a lot of us wrapped out of that scene that day.
I think I was the first to crumble. I looked over at Chris, and the waterworks started going, and then everybody else we all just, you know, were in each other's arms and mourning, you know, but celebrating too. But it's been a profound time. I mean, we started crying at the table read for that episode, you know, so we've been crying for like months at this point.
I'm still waiting for that cry, actually. It's coming.
It's going to happen today.
It's coming.
Yeah. I'm going to make you cry by the end of this panel.
Okay, thank you.
Damn it. Be alive. What about you guys? Do you remember your last day?
Again, as Deborah just said, for me it was 5 a.m. and been there all day, and you know, you guys are as much part of this as we are in a way, because you invest in it when you're watching it from the very beginning, and what you don't see is the same camera operator, the same focus pullers, the same costume guys, the same sound guys. All those people have been with us since the very beginning. And I said this morning, it's kind of like almost like you're doing 7 years is like doing a doctorate in vampirism, you know, and it's all with the same people, and that is just extraordinary to be able to spend that much time and get to know people and love them as we do. And so for me, that last moment was being hit by saying goodbye to all of those guys, because I knew I was going to see everyone here, but saying goodbye to that lot was really tough. And they wheeled out a big cake with do you remember that bottle that had missing Bill Compton from years and years ago, one of the posters?
I think it was when you proposed and then got kidnapped.
There you go. It's when I got kidnapped. And there was just this giant
On the
cake, and it
TV
was
show, not
lovely.
in real life.
And what was that?
On the TV show, not in real life.
Anyway, it was amazing, and just, you know, just so grateful to have worked with so many extraordinary people, and this is the last time we'll all be together in this, guys, and so we're still sort of mourning the end of that. You know?
What about you, Miss Paquin?
Well, my last day was, the last real day of shooting properly. I think they had some visual effects shots to pick up the next day, and we were out like an hour and a half outside of LA. So the second that we wrapped, everyone had to, pack their shit up and get out of there as fast as possible, basically, because we're not on any of our main locations.
Right.
And through some, complete. I know it wasn't personal, but there was no power when I got back to my trailer, so I couldn't find my stuff to get dressed.
Wow. They were just like, they flipped out the lights. They're like, Paquin's done, bye.
No, but you have to understand, the second they call wrap, when you're really in the middle of those boys who drive work 24-hour days. They get on it immediately, so they're switching generators over or something. But the upshot was the exact moment I walked into my trailer, it's like, oh, we really are done.
Yeah, it's over.
Yes.
No power left.
Yes, I can't even find my clothes,
Yeah.
which is a problem I've had on True Blood rather a lot.
Yeah, that's a problem you have a lot on True Blood. That's I can't find my clothes.
Whoops.
Oh, I just walked out of the kitchen naked. I don't know what's happening. Nathan, you joined the show this year. What's this been like?
It's been incredible.
Yeah.
It's been an incredible year. I don't have the same history and the same memories that all these guys have, but day one, I felt right at home. Everyone was really great welcoming me in, and I was just thrilled to be a part of this show. As brief as my time was on it, it was so much fun, and I couldn't ask to work with a better group of people. This cast and crew were incredible, top notch.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Just so you know, Nathan and I went to school together.
Yeah, we did.
So
Oh,
it
really?
was
Yeah, we
really
did.
exciting to have him come on. It was such a nice thing.
Nathan and I went to school together too.
You took me to school on that one.
I'm glad they put Deborah Ann between you guys.
No, I feel like I'm in the middle of something.
Yeah.
No, please, it's all right. It's all right.
A love sandwich.
Brian, what was the decision though? Was James always? I was calling him the bisexual vampire. He's bisexual. He doesn't sound southern. Bisexual. When did you guys make that decision early on? Was it last season you decided to make him, or did you know that he would become a love interest for Lafayette?
No. We were sort of flying by the seat of our pants with the, vamp camp and everything like that.
Yeah.
And we knew that we needed to sort of reinvigorate the show with some more love complications.
Yeah.
We hit on that one pretty early on in our pre-production this year. And I think it's messy and awesome and it's not done changing. It's not done evolving. So it's a really sort of fun, soapy way to take us out of the series. So
Anna Camp. There's too many Annas on this panel. Anna Camp. What do you think about Sarah? I thought we had seen the last of Sarah, last season, but now she's back and Buddhist and rocking some brown hair.
Totally rocking the brown hair.
Yeah. Were you excited to come back?
I was very excited to come back. As I was saying earlier, last season, reading the script when Jason had the gun under my throat, I thought my head was gonna get blown off, and I thought I kind of deserved it, to be honest. But no, I've been very happy to be back. I had no clue that I was gonna come back, and I hope people. I think I get what I deserve.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
I had to explain it to her boyfriend when he saw the punishment on set.
Oh no.
She deserves this. You need to know. Skylar. This
Yeah.
is not me just being mean to her.
God.
She was not happy.
Wow. Okay, so that sounds
Yeah.
pretty brutal. Brian, I thought, I mean, maybe this is too geeky, but we are at Comic-Con. So I thought the scene that when Sarah is running through the Republican fundraiser, the scene when Alex stops her, was that a direct homage to Terminator 2? Because it reminded me a lot of Terminator 2.
It was not a direct homage
Oh.
to Terminator 2,
All
unless
right.
you ask the director, who may or may not have seen Terminator 2 and
Oh,
forgotten
okay.
that he was doing something he'd seen. I'm not sure, but no, not a direct homage.
I didn't know. Did anyone else feel that? I felt that maybe. All right. Anyways, I'm alone. Kristen, so you apparently, I was reading, Ted Cruz is not happy with you all, apparently.
I know, isn't this great?
Based on that. I mean, and Sarah Palin too, right?
I know, why not?
Yeah, I mean.
She'll weigh in on anything. I don't
Exactly.
know why she, yeah.
I mean, I feel like you guys don't run in the same circles, so I feel like maybe you won't run into her, but
Yeah,
maybe.
you know, being an animal rights person, when I first knew of her, she was just the wolf killer lady from Alaska. So yeah. So it's sweet many, many years later that I've made her angry. Apparently. I didn't. It's your fault. But I did have fun doing it.
Sam, what can you say about Sam and Nicole? Because in this last episode, Sam and Nicole seem kind of on the rocks. It does not seem like she's enjoying Bon Temps, which it's a little cray in that town. What's going to happen with them? Can you tease anything?
Well, you know, Sam's kind of story has always has been about family for the last few years, and you know, I can't say too much, but you know, she's really sort of a very objective outside, you know, view on this town and like how insane it is. I actually haven't seen that episode. I've seen the first 4, but you know, you know, we'll see how committed I am to her and how committed she is to staying or, you know, whatever, you know, I can't say too much.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Chris, are you surprised by Andy's evolution? Because he's sort of, I mean, it's really quite the transformation, I'd say, from, you know, just the sheriff, sort of the cranky sheriff into like a family man, kind of.
Yeah, that's really weird because I was just sitting here thinking, I hope he asks me if I'm surprised about Andy's evolution.
Sorry.
But we had a connection before this started, so I'm not surprised.
I know, we chatted.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most gratifying, besides everything that you guys have already all heard in the experience of working with these people, the most gratifying thing, you know, kind of slowly, sort of like water over a stone, working on a character, to look back over your shoulder and see how much this character has grown. I mean, basically, he's become as lovable as I am in real life, but wasn't at the beginning. And you know, I don't do that on my own. That comes from writers.
Yeah. What was it like? I mean, do you have, I'll ask you this question then. I mean, are there moments where you know, it's such a wild show. I mean, like, witnessing, like, the multiple fairy births must be one of those moments where you're like, this is kind of a fun job. This is, like, a pretty, like, you know, this is not like a typical, you know, I'm not an accountant or anything. You know, like, it's a pretty goofy job.
Yeah, it's a pretty great job.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that every day because, like I always say it, you know, like, I've never had to lift anything heavy one day of work. And then you throw on things like that, watching, you know, babies be born on a pool table. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. Carrie, is Arlene, it seems like we're setting up Arlene to have a new, like, hot vampire man in her life. Is that correct?
Maybe. I mean, like I was saying earlier to you, I don't think you introduce a hot vampire and True Blood without doing something with him. I feel like this season I kind of arrived on True Blood because I got a vampire exploding in my crotch. So that happened. And so I had like blood all over me and I had to learn from all of these guys how to remove the blood from your body, which is shaving cream, BT dubs.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if you guys know that, but yeah. And And then, yeah, maybe there's some stuff coming up between Arlene and Keith that I've never had to do ever on camera before.
Oh, dear. And Anna and Stephen, you guys, we talked about this before, but you guys have more scenes together this season. Like, there's a lot. It feels like Bill and Sookie are sort of kind of finding their way back to each other. Is that true? Can we? I don't know if we can say. You
don't answer
feel
that.
But
Bucky?
I mean, is there hope for Bill and Sookie? Can they make it?
They might. They're in each other's spheres for sure. I mean, yeah, it's better that I handle this one. Look, at the end of the day, it's a television show, right? And this show started out and worked because of the chemistry they shared.
Yeah.
They got married for us, for Christ's sake.
It's all for the show.
Yeah. As soon as this is over, boom.
Thanks for waiting.
We have a couple more hours, don't worry. No, we have HFPA on Monday.
But yeah, no, I mean, I certainly felt going into it that we had to come back to Bill and Sookie. You know, how we're coming back to them, we're not telling you. But that's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it. Yes, of course we've intentionally, put these two back together on screen.
And have you guys liked playing opposite each other more? Because I feel like there was a time where you guys, especially when Bill was sort of crazy, Lilith Bill, there was a lot of separation. Do you guys
Well, no, obviously I hate spending time with him. It's why I married him.
Right, of course. It's terrible.
Because I want to torture myself. No, it's the way our show generally works. We're generally shooting 2 episodes almost at the same time for most of the time. So in seasons where Steve and I have not had as many scenes, we're literally on like 2 different TV shows. So,
Right.
Like, not even, like maybe see each other briefly at work. So yes, I actually really do enjoy getting to see my husband.
What about you, Steve?
I feel incredibly lucky to have got to work with Anna at all, and so getting to do any stuff is fantastic. And I have missed working with her. And as Anna said, sometimes we don't actually get to see each other at work and only at home. I mean, I as an actor on this show have got to do most of my stuff with Anna and with Deborah Ann Wall, and that's an unbelievable embarrassment of riches. And this year, also, I've got to work with Chris Bauer, who I have enormous respect for. So it's just incredible. We've got an unbelievable cast, and I get to work with all these wonderful people. And thank you, Bucky, for giving me a couple of those scenes.
Brian, when you, for example, with Tara, we've seen a lot of deaths this season on True Blood with Tara and Alcide. Is that a conversation, do you wait and tell the actor that until the script is written? Or do you know that, do you tell them at the beginning of the season? How do you sort of handle that?
No, I think waiting at this point would be barbaric.
Right.
No, I mean, we had the conversation, and we talked about why, and I think that it's hard to take the news, but we've had a show with this cast of many, and we do a lot of teasing that there's going to be consequences, and I think if a band of marauding, hungry vampires comes to town, something's got to happen, or you kind of got no stakes in the world of your show. So, it's sad. I feel a bit like an executioner, but but I think we handled it as best we could between us. I think it hurts. I mean, it's so funny. This panel is a little bit sad, right?
Last man standing.
Yeah, but there's loss for all of us. So it's bittersweet. But
Rutina, when you got the news, what did you think? Were you shocked? Were you prepared? Or were you kind of at peace with it?
No, I wasn't prepared. I remember being like, "Oh, I'm the first." Okay. But I was okay with it. I was okay with it because I got a kick-ass fight.
Yeah.
And I was really excited about that fight. So for me, it was cool to see Tara go out fighting. Thought that was a good way to see her go out. So I was okay with it. I mean, after a while, I had to get over some stuff, but I was cool after a while.
Yeah.
And again, her story wasn't over.
Right.
You know, you get a certain amount of backlash going, I can't believe they did it that way. But it's like, hold on,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
hold on. We may be telling a story you don't expect here.
Yeah.
So you know, it's sort of hard to bite your tongue,
Right.
but I bit it. Yeah.
How was the party? In last week's episode, they had a big kind of celebration for celebrating Alcide's life and Tara's. Was that fun to shoot? Because that was probably one of the first times you guys have all been in a room together for a while. I mean, you're always kind of separated. Was that a fun sort of sequence?
Yes, and absolutely not.
Oh.
That was the party that had little pieces of it in different locations on different days with different actors that actually ended up lasting for about 3 months.
Oh dear. Wait, why?
Because of scheduling
okay.
and who has to work when and where you're shooting things. Like literally, we were still shooting pieces from the party.
Oh, wow.
Probably a good month after we'd started.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I was exaggerating with the 3, but I mean, it was kind of weird to try to maintain.
Yeah, drunkenness.
Or just like continuity.
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
maintain drunkenness.
But that
Fine
was
there.
some of my favorite stuff. Some of my favorite stuff was in that episode because I'm really partial to drunk Arlene. I love it when they give me stuff like that to do. And Anna and I, before we would do the scene where we were doing shots right at the beginning, we stand up and spin around and round and round and round and round so we can get really dizzy and stuff. And so you're doing that for like 5 hours. You start to feel really drunk. And then doing that scene with Keith and then having to go make Tinkle and all that stuff. It was really fun.
Who got the wildest at the rap party? Who was the most fun at that party out of you guys?
Greg Feinberg.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
Yeah. Was he like sloppy or was he like
No.
fun? Okay.
Full of love.
Yeah. I mean, Kristen, you and Alex are very close. I mean, this must be, I don't want you to get emotional, but this must be this must have been a really hard thing to say goodbye. I remember Brian told me that, your last scenes together, I think, are very, they're very intense, they're very emotional.
Yeah, and I've been crying for like a year about when that day would come, and so as it got closer and closer, I started telling Alex, and I had my last, remember we were having a scene and Steven at one point said, this is our last scene. And then I was like, and with you, and with you. There's so many lasts, and they hit me at odd times, but with Alex, that's the most significant relationship for me and for Pam, and I thought he would be rock solid Swede. Mm-hmm. But when I saw him crack, and I kept telling him, let's just say, see you tomorrow, just like any other day. And I was like, oh no, see you tomorrow, and I just tried to get out of there. And, you were there, and it was really sweet. And then there were many lasts, and then I thought my last was the last, and we didn't get part of it, and then there was another, and so on my last, because there are 2 crews running at the same time, almost everybody was on the lot. Mm-hmm. And they orchestrated incredibly sweet send-off. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I was wondering if you guys, if you could play a different character on True Blood, male or female, other than your own, who would you want to be?
Sam?
Me? Why me?
Huh?
Why would you want to be me?
Why did I say your name?
Yeah, why would you want to? No, I'm just curious.
I was wondering if you wanted to do Alex for everyone.
Oh, no. I
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute.
Be me.
Hang on a minute.
I thought Bucky wanted to
ladies
be
and gentlemen.
I'm not a character on True Blood.
Ladies and gentlemen, every now and again, some people can't make it to a table read. Be quiet, you. Somebody can't make it to a table read, and inevitably, other actors end up playing those characters.
Oh.
And I'm going to give you the back of this to read, Sam Trammell.
No, no, no.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
It has to be Eric dialogue or it doesn't work.
I'm sick.
He's not very well. Come on.
I had got food poisoning.
He does.
Here's
Alex.
here's the deal. People make way bigger deal about this than it is. But I do end up reading. I do have to end up reading Alex because for some reason he's not at the table reads sometimes.
But also, you guys don't have scenes together, so it doesn't.
Oh, right,
You know
right,
what I mean?
right,
So
right.
that's
Would anybody like to hear Sam Trammell do Alexander Skarsgård?
I really, I'm not at all. Please be aware that many members of your audience may be under the age of 18. I don't. That's. Well, I'll do more later. About that. I'm not prepared.
I'm going to give him something to study, and then he'll do something
He's
for
in
us
so
later.
much trouble right now. But my answer would be Eric. I would like to.
You would like to be Eric.
Because I feel like I've been Eric a lot. Table reads.
I feel like you say Pamela like Alex.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the words at the table read where I'm like, oh.
Pamela.
Pamela. That was you have the intonation.
What about the rest of you guys? Who would you want to be? Is there another character you kind of you respond to?
Russell Edgington.
Interesting.
Amazing.
Why Russell?
I mean, do I need to explain? Does that not speak for itself?
Yeah.
And also, while we're at it, can I please be Dennis O'Hare?
Okay, yeah, totally. Dennis O'Hare, amazing.
I feel like it's really obvious that Andy Belfler wants to be Jason Stackhouse.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
I know. That's my pick.
What about the rest of you guys? Nelson, is there anyone else you'd want to be?
Pam.
Yeah.
There is some crossover between our characters, our eyelashes.
Yeah. I know the wardrobe wouldn't have to change that much.
Right?
Yeah. At least the accessories.
Yeah.
What about Deborah Ann? What about you?
Maybe Sarah Newland? It's such a fantastic character, but I feel like part of the reason I say that is because Anna's so fantastic at it, and I would not be as fantastic at it, so...
Oh, thanks, Deb.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're like the only person who would want to... What? And I would be you.
Yay. Oh, we should do that.
We should switch. Hey, spin-off. You know? Hey.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that. Rutina, what about you?
I would be Pam because she has the best wardrobe, best lines, best everything.
There's some good lines. I gotta say, I'd probably pick Pam too. Thanks to this guy. These lines are amazing. They hand me.
Carrie, what about you? Would you want to be anyone else besides Arlene?
Well, I pretty much love Arlene, but I think I wouldn't mind being Sam. I wouldn't mind being shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
have
like
to
the
be
idea.
naked a lot, though. Is
Huh?
that okay? You have to be naked a lot.
True. Can I change my answer?
Yes.
Okay. Lafayette.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at my hair. My imaginary hair.
Nathan, what about you?
I'd say Lafayette too.
Yeah. Wow.
Best. There we go. I just wanted to see that again. I can't do it as well. I can't.
You know, there's been all this talk about, online about a True Blood musical potentially happening. Would you all ever want to do that?
Oh boy.
Yes.
Anna would, yes.
Yeah, I feel like Sarah Newland could have like an amazing gospel religious like number at the end of Act 1, and then like she like gets attacked.
Yeah.
And then we would know, until we came back for Act 2 what happened to her. So.
Yeah. I would like a choreographed Sarah Newland stabbing one with a shoe, maybe some kind of like chase sequence, dance with it. Yeah.
I'd do that. Awesome.
Can we just get Anna to do that for real for us?
Oh
like,
my
all
gosh,
time?
I know.
Just have an Anna show.
Let
Just
me know.
can you improv a Sarah Newland gospel song?
Oh, come on, girl. Me. No.
I love that.
Thank you.
What about the rest of you guys? Would you want to do a musical ever?
I'd need a lot of lessons and a couple of things. Singing and dancing, first of all.
Yeah, I picture Arlene as like some Reba McEntire or something, or like Flo from Alice, standing at the bar, like doing like some kind of, what can I get you, Oh, hush up now.
Rutina, you would rock it. I mean, there is a video on someone's iPhone somewhere of you and I performing all of Grease one night in Fantasia.
Yeah.
You would rock it.
Summer 11, right? Is that what we were saying?
Yeah.
Summer 11.
Rutina, would you do a musical? Would you ever?
Yeah, I would definitely. Sorry, I love to dance and sing. Musicals are actually some of my favorite things to do. So I would definitely do it. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Stephen, we know you can sing. So would you want to revisit Bill Compton musically?
Nathan Barr, who does our amazing music on our show, came to me about 2 years ago with this idea, and so I went to his house and basically laid down a couple of tracks to playing Bill, and we recorded the songs for him to give to Charlene and Alan. And
is this a toad offense that's happening with the phone?
say that again.
Is this a toad?
Oh, a toad-worthy offense.
Just out of
Somebody's phone going off.
Do we have the toad of shame here?
There is no toad of shame here.
Just sorry, continue.
Anyway,
We'll explain what Toad of Shame is after this.
Okay.
So anyway, we recorded this stuff, and it was for Nathan to take to Alan and Charlene and see if it would be something that they would be interested in doing, and they signed off on it. But that was the only thing that I was ever going to do for it, because the idea of I love Bill, but I'm really excited about moving on and maybe singing something else.
Yeah. Anna, you mentioned the Toad of Shame, which is a thing on set. What is that? Explain that.
A couple years ago, who was it that found a toad?
Manuel.
Okay. Found I kid you not, dead, completely pressed, sort of flattened toad on the ground where we shoot all of our exteriors up in Malibu. And so they did what, any rational and normal person would do. They laminated it and made it into a necklace. Which became the Toad of Shame. And the Toad of Shame is awarded for lateness, phones going off, breaking other people's shit, or just generally if we kind of gang up on you. But it's the cell phones going off in the middle of takes is kind of a big one. So I just sort of feel compelled to want to award a toad to anyone whose phone goes off ever now. Except if I start yelling toad, toad, toad in public, people are going to be insane. Well, sorry, more insane.
Yeah. Who got the toad the most in this group? Who was awarded it the most?
I never got the toad.
I got the toad twice in my last week, but I never had it the rest of the 7 years. I forgot, I put my alarm on my phone to bid on some plates on eBay. And I was in the middle of my close-up, it went off, and then I got up, ran, bid, got them, went back, wore the toad, and then continued with my job.
Has anyone else gotten the toad?
Deborah asked for the toad.
I had to request the toad. They weren't going to give it to me, but I totally did a toad-worthy offense, so I had to beg them to give it to me.
Wait, what was it? What was your toad-worthy offense?
I knocked over a prop beer bottle and got sticky stuff all over the floor, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's okay, don't worry." And I was like, "I'm not made of glass. Give me the fucking toad." I mean. Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen at home. I'll take the toad for that as well.
Yeah, that's a toad-worthy offense.
Yeah, that's...
There's a wall, the wall of shame, at work, and there's probably about 250 pictures, because every time that you had to put the toad on,
they take a
picture of you wearing the toad. And then you have to wear the toad until the next person does something toad-worthy. And there is a wall of about 250 pictures, and I think Wheezy was the winner.
No, Lenny.
No,
Lenny.
Oh, yeah, Lenny.
Lenny, your second
Lenny?
team.
It was Lenny.
Lenny. Oh my
Manuel dressed up like a toad in a giant toad outfit and presented it to him out at Greer.
Oh my gosh.
There was a statue and everything. It was beautiful.
Fantastic.
I was jealous.
This is what we'll miss.
So if you guys have questions, we're going to start taking questions from the audience in about 5 minutes. So start lining up if you want to ask a question. You guys have been a Comic-Con mainstay now for 7 years. Do you have specific memories of Comic-Con? Like, are there things that stick out in your mind of this experience? Because it's been, I mean, you guys are like rock stars here. So do you remember one moment in particular that stands out?
Thanks.
Well, I'm a virgin. This is my first time here, so this is my favorite moment right here.
I gotta say, before the show had even aired for the first season, we did a panel here at Comic-Con, and I didn't know that anybody kind of knew we existed, but Charlene has a very, very loyal following, and Alan Ball has a very loyal following, and we packed a giant room. I was like, how do people even know what this is? And I found that to be kind of amazing. And they were just as warm and enthusiastic as once we actually had the show out on the air and people could even watch it. So I found that kind of amazing.
What about the rest of you guys? Do you have any? Stephen, do you have a memory of Comic-Con, a particular one?
I mean that one as well, the same as Anna's, was realizing that we were onto something kind of, that this could be gigantic when the hall was already full before we'd aired. But one of my favorites is running into Deborah Ann dressed as
Hit Girl.
Axe Cop.
Hit Girl. No, it was Hit Girl, wasn't it? Who is it from Kick-Ass?
Oh, Hit Girl, yeah.
Yeah.
Years ago.
She was dressed. She walks the floor in costume, so because she loves this stuff.
Oh, wow.
And I love waiting to see what she's going to be wearing each year.
She didn't do it this year.
I don't have time this year. I was going to come as Crow from Mystery Science Theater, but I couldn't finish my costume.
Wait, Deborah Ann, are you like a fangirl? Like, do you have like obsession? Like, are you a Game of Thrones person? Are you?
Yeah, I play Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh.
I'm a big Mystery Science Theater fan, and I read comic books, and yeah.
She owns a glue gun. A glue gun. She makes her own costumes. Last year she came, we were like, "Where's your costume?" She's like, "My glue gun broke."
Couldn't find my glue gun.
She's like, "That's for real."
Deborah Ann actually made an entire wall of shelves for her comic book collection.
Well, for my boyfriend's comic book collection.
There you go.
And I did. I made him shelves.
Wow.
She's also
Not
a
with
carpenter.
glue, with like screws and things.
Yeah.
This is very surprising. I feel like
I just want to know, though, where did you get the Cousin It costume? Because that was pretty
Yeah,
badass.
she won.
I was on like Forbes like best costumes at Comic-Con. They had no idea it was me. It was so cool. When I was Cousin It, that was like, I was like happier than I've ever been in my life.
Oh my God, I love this. I feel like you're coming out at Comic-Con as a comic book fan. This is very, very emotional. It's really wonderful. So we only have, there's only about 5 episodes left of this final season. Brian, what can you tease? Can you say to people what we'll see? Any kind of tease?
They'll see the tease, right?
Oh, they will see a tease.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I was just gonna,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's not done changing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to slow down any.
Yeah.
It's just there's a bit more of a focus on romance. We put the last season's issue to rest early for on purpose.
Yeah.
And it's really emotional and satisfying. I think you guys love these characters, and we felt like we had to land them in places where you were going to be okay with not getting them anymore.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of focus.
All right. Cool. All right. Let's take questions from the audience. Let's go to this zombie lady.
Wow. That's awesome.
Thank you. I just want to say I'm very sad to see you guys go, but thank you, all of you, for taking the characters and embracing them and making them amazing and making us love you guys.
Thank you.
I would like to know, is there anything fan fiction or from the fans that you guys took and made a part of your characters?
I did, yes. The fans were giving me scarves, which I took them and wore them on the show. I gave them to the costume designer, and she incorporated them in my costumes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got given jewelry that ended up on Pam. I think maybe here, some amazing billion cross necklace that I wore.
Cool. All right, next question.
Hi, my name is Cici Gama, and my question is for all of you. Being it's the final season, is there anything from the set, or maybe wardrobe, or maybe the toad some of you taken home for a personal token?
I got to take my wig, so I've got my brown hair in case I ever need it, but it's kind of sad. It's kind of a sad wig.
It's a sad wig.
I took Sookie's porch swing, the one that hangs in that tree opposite, the house where we didn't do a ton of scenes in them, but for me it was always a place I would come and sit, between takes and stuff like that. That's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat.
In Malots, there's 2 dead deer feet that have been there since the beginning, and then during the Mardi Gras, I think it was season 4 or 5, during Mardi Gras that would have been happening in New Orleans, they suddenly got all the Mardi Gras beads around them, wrapped around these deer feet, and I managed to snag those from Malots.
And I strongly suspect they're going to end up in our house.
Well, HBO should probably sue me because I've been stealing from them for 7 years. I would go home and forget that I have Lafayette necklace on, ring, his underwear, his socks, his T-shirts, and then for some reason I just never brought it back.
Anyone else take anything?
Yeah, I took my fangs.
Yeah.
Fangs.
I think all the vampires have got their fangs, right?
Yeah, and they wouldn't fit anyone else.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Rutina, did you take anything?
I took some fangs and a couple of human clothes from human Terra clothes, like those cut-off jean shorts that I wore all first season. I'm going to put them in a little shadow box in my woman cave.
Sam, did you take anything?
Well, I have, it's a couple of boxes of Merlot's matches. That and some, my boots. I took those.
Oh, nice.
Here's what I really want, you guys, and maybe you can help me. I really want the big wooden menu over Merlot's, and Warner Brothers took it. I'm looking at you, Brian. I don't know why. But that's what I really want that, but they're not going to give it to me. I think they're actually archiving
A lot of the stuff.
Yeah, they're going to archive Merlot's and Fantasia.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
Hi, thank you so much for making such a great show. You're all amazing. My question is for the cast. Was there a scene that when you first read it was particularly moving or exciting, and what was it like to record that scene?
Well, for me, it was my very first day. The scene that Nelson and I had in the first episode is a great story, this great monologue, and like I said, that was my very first day on set ever, and I got to work with that man right there, and Steve was directing, and that was really, really awesome. I think that turned out well.
There's a scene last year, I think, where right after Jessica had killed the fairy girls, and I remember being really scared about that and scared of going there, but I get all high on the fairy blood and I run over to Jason's. And I remember reading through that scene there, and there's at one moment where she's, I'm feeling so low, like, how could anyone ever love me? And I look at him and I ask him, did you ever love me? And he said, yes. And I said, what? What could you possibly love about me? And he says, I guess everything. And I remember, like, breaking down into tears reading that and thinking, like, this is great. This is the kind of love that I think should be told, that kind of thing. And, and I want to give a shout out to Ryan because he's not here, and he's just one of the most exceptional actors to work with. And just every day working with him was a pleasure, and so shooting it was as moving as it was to read it.
I think every scene I worked with Deborah and Nathan was particularly moving for me this season. It was one of the first times that I got to work with the dynamic Miss D over here, and she's a marvelous actress. And Nathan, well, y'all see his work.
I think for me, the scene last season when Terry gets killed was really powerful on the page, even in the table read. When we were just reading through it, it was very emotional for me and for everyone in the room, because we were also attached to Todd Lowe, the amazing Todd Lowe who played Terry. Yeah, give it up, give it up. And so, to then go and shoot that scene and live in the skin of Arlene at that moment, that profound moment, was just one of those magical, scary, sad, messy, beautiful days that you love to have as an actor. And holding him in my arms, it really did feel like someone was dying, and it was, that character, So it was so fun for me when he got to come back this season and we got to have that scene together. Yeah.
I just, one of the things that happens in this job is you get to do stuff that sometimes parallels what's happened to you or didn't happen to you but means a lot. So this year, when I got to propose to Holly, I told my real wife, who I've been married to for almost 20 years, I said, sweetheart, that pathetic proposal that when I proposed to my real wife, it made like Woody Allen look like Sylvester Stallone. I was unconfident. So I told her, I'm going to shoot this scene and let's watch it together, and you pretend like you're that person on TV who I'm talking to, and we'll be all good. And, she bought it. So, thank you.
I don't know if I actually have had many real moving scenes because Sarah Newland lives in such a weird part of the world. But I think that my final scene that I shot this season definitely, pushed me to a place. She's at her lowest. So yeah, that was a hard one for me. So we'll see.
I wasn't in any scenes.
Yes, you were. All of them. There's, the most moving are the most recent, but in that we haven't seen yet, and some that we've seen. But in past years, when I read the scene where Eric releases Pam, I just, no. And then I started, of course, crying.
Why don't we give her tissues every Comic-Con now? You should know by now.
I don't have any.
And then, when we were at the table read, and then in rehearsal, and then when the camera was on my back, and they kept saying, save it, I'm like, I can't. Yeah, that was very moving for me and Pam.
For me, I would have to say when I was shot in the head at the end of fourth season. That was an incredibly moving scene, and I remember just being there with Anna and Nelson, like for me, I had a hard time. I was like, I have to keep it together because just how they were in the scene, they were so amazingly beautiful that I just thought it was great. So that's, yeah. Sorry.
You know, for me, it's, I mean, by far, the scene that I was really most moved in is one that you haven't seen yet, that I did with Carrie Preston at our bar, and it was very, you know, just very emotional, and Carrie is such a great actress, and I don't get to work with her all that often, every once in a while, but it was great to have a scene with her that was just really just two people talking, and really we just got deep, and so I'm sorry, you know, you haven't seen it yet, but that one is the one for me. Sure.
I've got a kind of similar answer in a way. I've got some stuff coming in a similar vein, but if I was to pick, I've had so many kind of deep emotional roots that he's gone through, but I do remember when Bill returns as a vampire to his human house and finds his son has died of smallpox, and his wife is there, and my son was probably 10 at the time, which was kind of the same age as the kid, and he was in London, and I was doing that scene, and Bridget, our makeup artist, who's been with us since the beginning, her son Strider was in the box, and I'm pretty close to Strider, and so that was really intense. And then Lorena makes Bill tell his wife that to forget him, and so he glamours her into forgetting him and what existed between them. And Bill's had to do that a couple of times, and those glamoring sequences with Anna as well, they're really intense, because you're basically forgiving somebody, you're letting them go, but you're also letting go a part of yourself. You're telling that person that you didn't exist in a way, and they're really emotional to play.
Rutina having her head blown off was, I mean, definitely pretty high up on my list too. I think one of the kind of, I guess, convenient things about really loving your coworkers on a show where people die a lot is that when they kill off people you love, it's not very hard to, you know, feel actual sort of grief and pain, and, you know, having someone who I love as dearly as I love Rutina bleeding out in my lap was pretty damn emotional. Yeah. And, you know, obviously, because that's where the season ends, and we don't know at that point exactly how it's going to turn out. No, that was a pretty big one.
Yeah. Next question.
My question is for the entire cast. First of all, I want to say you guys have been my summer family, and you guys, thank you for all the amazing acting for all these seasons. You guys are all just so great. But my question is, what all is your favorite season?
Favorite season for me is this one. To be on it.
I don't know. That's really hard to answer. I've loved so much of what Jessica's done. Maybe 4 or 6. I think those were the hardest seasons for Jessica. She went through so much, so that's the most fun for me. So yeah, 4 or 6.
This is my favorite season.
Well, that's so hard. I guess I have a real fondness for season 1, just because, you know, we were all so new. The world was new. We were trying to, you know, we were all exploring it and finding it and discovering it. So I'm fond of that one, but I guess 6 probably was my favorite as an actor, I think.
This season for me, for sure.
It's a close tie between this season and last season because I got to kill a woman with a high heel last season, and that was so much fun to do.
This was for the actors. I'm not doing this.
Cameron nervously moved on. This season has been really amazing. And just as a side note or close second, the rotting face was really fun. And it was really amazing for me it was the first time I got my own storyline, but this season is right here still.
For me, that would be season 5 when I was turned into a vampire and got to work with fabulous Kristen.
That was amazing.
I had that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.